When you disappear from someone's life, one of the first things they experience is confusion. This is an immediate reaction to the sudden shift in their reality. People by nature thrive on consistency and routine. The interactions they've become accustomed to, whether they were frequent, sporadic, or even just the occasional check-in, become the backdrop of their days. The moment that disappears, it's like a piece of their world is taken away, leaving them uncertain about what happened and why. This initial wave of confusion is powerful. It's not just a surface-level questioning of where you went, but a deeper introspection that starts to unravel the threads of the relationship, making them question everything. The person left behind will likely ask themselves, did I do something wrong? Did I miss a sign that this was coming? Was there something I could have done to prevent this? This questioning becomes an internal whirlwind where they replay interactions, trying to pinpoint when things shifted. Sometimes the absence is so abrupt that they don't even have a chance to process what's happening until the silence becomes too loud to ignore. This kind of confusion isn't just about missing you, it's about the uncertainty of their own role in the situation. It's a mixture of self-doubt and helplessness as they search for answers that aren't immediately available. The confusion can also extend to a lack of closure. When relationships end suddenly or when someone decides to step away without explanation, the person left behind is often left in a limbo state. There's no real ending, no moment where they can process the situation in its entirety. Without a clear understanding of what went wrong or why things fell apart, it's easy for them to stay stuck in this fog of uncertainty. They may find themselves grasping for any potential clues, analyzing past conversations, or searching for something that could offer them an explanation. This confusion is also rooted in the inability to predict how to move forward. People don't just miss the presence of others, they miss the certainty that comes with knowing the roles people play in their lives. When someone disappears, it's as if that certainty vanishes, leaving a gap that they struggle to fill. They might wonder if you've simply moved on, if you're angry, or if something more significant has shifted in your life that made you disconnect. This can lead to feelings of helplessness as they realize they can't control or predict the situation. They may even begin to second-guess their judgment of the relationship, wondering if the connection was ever as strong as they thought. The depth of confusion depends on the nature of the relationship. If it was a close emotional bond, the confusion can be even more intense. There's a greater sense of loss because the person feels like they've been abandoned, not just physically, but emotionally too. On the other hand, if the relationship wasn't as deeply rooted, the confusion may come with a sense of frustration or resentment as they feel like they were never given the proper explanation or warning. In either case, confusion acts as a catalyst for the subsequent emotions they will experience. For the person left behind, the primary focus in this stage is simply understanding why you chose to disappear. They might reach out in an attempt to fill the void left by your absence, desperate for any answers that could help them piece things together. Sometimes they might even try to blame themselves or other factors, trying to make sense of the situation so they can find a path forward. However, the confusion remains a heavy burden as it clouds their ability to truly accept the situation for what it is. Ultimately, while this confusion may eventually fade with time, it's important to recognize that this emotional state is often the hardest to navigate. It is in many ways a reflection of the shock that comes with the realization that you've disappeared from their life, leaving them to face the uncertainty of their own feelings and the unknown future of the relationship. When you disappear, the next thing people often feel is a sense of betrayal. This emotion comes from the sudden abandonment, particularly if the relationship held meaning, whether romantic, platonic, or professional. It's the feeling that after all the time spent building trust, understanding, and shared experiences, someone simply vanishes without warning or explanation. The person left behind might think, how could they just leave without saying anything? And this thought lingers, amplifying the sense of betrayal. It's not just the physical absence that hurts, but the emotional and psychological withdrawal that accompanies it. This betrayal strikes especially hard when there was an implicit promise or understanding that the relationship would continue in some capacity. This could have been an unspoken agreement to stay in touch, to continue working together, or to maintain the emotional bond that was formed over time. When that promise is broken, the person is left to wonder what happened. They may question the sincerity of everything that was said and done. Did you truly mean it when you shared your thoughts, your time, and your energy with them? Or was it all just a temporary connection that no longer mattered once you decided to leave? The emotional pain tied to this feeling of betrayal can be long-lasting, especially when the individual feels blindsided by the disappearance. In cases where there's no clear closure, this sense of betrayal can intensify. They might feel as if they were never truly valued or that the connection wasn't as important as they once believed it was. The absence of an explanation can make it seem like their presence, thoughts, or feelings didn't matter enough to be addressed or acknowledged. This can cause deep emotional wounds, especially if they spent significant time nurturing the relationship. They may even begin to question their worth, wondering if they did something to cause this abrupt break or if the entire relationship was built on false pretenses. The betrayal feels particularly raw when there was an emotional investment. In friendships and romantic relationships, there are often many personal revelations, secrets, and shared moments. When someone who has been entrusted with such personal parts of a person's life disappears, it's like a slap in the face. It's a rejection of not just the person, but everything they've invested in the relationship. The emotional attachment that was carefully cultivated over time is discarded, leaving the individual feeling like they gave a piece of themselves to someone who wasn't truly deserving of it. In professional relationships, this sense of betrayal might stem from a perceived lack of respect or consideration. If someone leaves a team or workspace without warning, it may not only feel like abandonment, but a disregard for the collective effort or trust that had been built. The remaining team members may feel as if they were left to pick up the pieces without any regard for their needs or the ongoing success of the project. This can lead to resentment and feelings of unappreciation. As the person left behind processes these emotions, the feeling of betrayal can turn into frustration. They might feel angry that they were left in the dark, unable to understand the reasons behind your actions. The lack of communication or explanation can breed a sense of injustice, making them feel like they were treated unfairly. This frustration may manifest in various ways, from attempting to reach out to you in an effort to gain answers, to harboring resentment and bitterness over the situation. However, what's important to understand is that the sense of betrayal can be a turning point. It forces the person to confront the reality of their own emotional needs and to recognize their own worth. While the immediate sting of betrayal is painful, it eventually gives them an opportunity to heal, grow, and learn to set boundaries that protect their emotional well-being. Although it may take time, the betrayal can help them develop a stronger sense of self-respect and an understanding of what they deserve in relationships. It can be a catalyst for personal growth, though it is certainly not an easy path to walk. In conclusion, the betrayal someone feels when you disappear is not merely a reaction to your absence, but a deeper reflection of how they valued and trusted the relationship. The emotional turmoil it creates is profound, but it can also serve as an important lesson for both individuals involved. The pain of betrayal is real, but it is not the end of the journey. It's just a chapter in a larger story of self-discovery and emotional resilience. Another powerful emotion that arises when you disappear is confusion. When someone who was once a significant part of your life suddenly vanishes without explanation, it leaves the other person in a state of bewilderment. They find themselves asking countless questions, trying to piece together what went wrong. What did I do? Why did they leave? Was something said or done that caused this? Confusion doesn't just stem from the abrupt nature of the disappearance, but from the lack of closure. It creates a deep sense of disorientation, leaving them wondering if they missed some crucial sign or if they were simply not worthy of an explanation. The confusion is amplified when there is no obvious reason for your absence. If there was no argument, no signs of conflict, or no changes in behavior that could indicate that something was wrong, the disappearance seems completely unfathomable. It's as if the relationship, which at one point felt solid and real, has suddenly and inexplicably been erased. This lack of clarity causes mental and emotional chaos. It's one thing to experience a breakup or fallout when the reasons are clear, but it's another thing entirely when everything is left hanging. The individual is left in limbo, unable to make sense of the situation and struggling to understand what led to your decision. Confusion can also make the individual second guess their perceptions of the relationship. They may wonder if they misunderstood the connection or misread the signals. If you were once close and shared intimate moments or deep conversations, they might begin questioning whether all of it was genuine or if they were just imagining the depth of the bond. The uncertainty can blur their understanding of what the relationship truly meant. It causes them to feel insecure about their ability to judge relationships and situations in the future. In this state of confusion, it's easy to spiral into self-doubt and frustration as they replay every interaction, trying to figure out what they missed. Moreover, the lack of communication only deepens the confusion. When someone disappears without a word, it prevents any opportunity for clarification or resolution. Without understanding the reason for their actions, the person left behind is left with nothing but their own interpretations of what happened. This absence of answers feeds into their confusion, making it difficult for them to find peace or closure. The mind starts creating scenarios, each one more perplexing than the last, making it harder to move on and process the emotions. Their thoughts can get clouded by assumptions, and they might start projecting their own feelings of hurt or guilt onto the situation, wondering if they did something wrong or if they could have prevented it somehow. This confusion can also cause a sense of frustration. When someone disappears without any explanation, the person left behind may feel powerless. They have no control over the situation, and they can't reach out for answers or resolution. This lack of control can feel unsettling and can prevent them from being able to move on with their life. The unanswered questions weigh heavily on them, and they might feel as though they've been left in the dark without the ability to change anything. For those who are used to open communication and resolving conflicts through dialogue, this silence can feel like a huge betrayal of trust. It's not just about the disappearance, it's about the silence that follows. The feeling of being ignored, of being kept out of the loop, adds to the confusion. They might wonder if it's a form of punishment or if there is some hidden agenda that they're not privy to. Without an explanation, the individual is forced to face the discomfort of not knowing, of living with an emotional puzzle that they cannot solve. But while the confusion can be disorienting and painful, it can also serve as an opportunity for personal growth. The individual may eventually realize that they don't need answers to move forward. Sometimes the best way to handle confusion is to let go of the need for closure and trust that things will work out in their own time. It's a lesson in acceptance, learning to live with uncertainty and understanding that some questions don't have immediate answers. Over time, this confusion may transform into clarity, and the person may come to see the disappearance as a necessary step in their journey. In the end, the confusion that arises when someone disappears is a natural reaction to a situation that seems unjust and unexplained. It's an emotion that leaves a person grappling with uncertainty and self-doubt. However, as time passes and healing begins, the confusion often fades, replaced by a deeper understanding of oneself and the ability to navigate future relationships with greater wisdom. While it is a difficult and painful experience in the moment, it can ultimately lead to personal growth and emotional resilience. When you disappear from someone's life, one of the most significant emotional responses they will likely experience is a deep sense of loss. Loss is a complex and overwhelming feeling that can manifest in various forms, from sadness and grief to a more profound sense of emptiness. The person who has been left behind may feel as though a part of themselves has been taken away, and with it, a sense of connection and companionship. It's not just the absence of you physically, but the loss of the bond, the moments shared, and the sense of security that once came from the relationship. The loss isn't just about missing the time spent together or the conversations you once had. It's also about losing a sense of familiarity and comfort. Relationships, especially meaningful ones, provide a foundation of consistency in life. As people grow accustomed to their presence, their habits, and the routines that come with spending time together, when that person suddenly disappears, it's like that foundation is pulled away. They're left standing on unstable ground, unsure of how to fill the void that has been left in their life. It's like losing a piece of themselves, a part that they once thought was integral to who they were. This feeling of loss can be overwhelming, as it often forces them to face the reality of their own dependence on the connection. It highlights how important that relationship was, not just in terms of the bond shared, but in how it played a role in shaping their daily life and sense of identity. In many ways, relationships become a mirror reflecting who we are and who we strive to be. When you disappear, they may feel as though that reflection has been shattered, leaving them to question their own worth, ability to maintain connections, and even their own self-value. The loss can also bring up feelings of rejection. When someone who once cared about them suddenly disappears, it can feel as though they were unimportant, insignificant, or unworthy. The absence can feel like a silent message of "you are not worth my time or attention anymore." Rejection can be an excruciating emotion to deal with, especially when there is no explanation or closure. It leaves the individual with a lingering sense of self-doubt as they struggle to understand why they were abandoned or cast aside. They may start to wonder what they did wrong or why they weren't enough for the person to stay. This sense of loss can also lead to feelings of helplessness. When someone leaves without a word or explanation, the person left behind may feel as though they have no control over the situation. They are unable to reach out to fix the relationship or to find closure. It's as though they are at the mercy of the other person's actions with no power to influence the outcome. This powerlessness can be disorienting and painful as it strips them of the ability to affect the direction of their own emotional journey. The loss, in this sense, becomes not just about the person, but about the control that was once in their hands, now taken away. But this loss, as painful as it is, also offers an opportunity for personal reflection and growth. While the feelings of sadness and emptiness are natural reactions to losing someone, this experience can also serve as a reminder of the strength that lies within them. It's a chance for the individual to learn how to fill that void on their own, to find new sources of joy, and to rediscover their independence. The loss teaches them that they are capable of moving forward, even when it feels like they have lost a significant part of their life. Through time and self-reflection, the pain of loss can begin to transform into a deeper understanding of themselves and their capacity for resilience. In the aftermath of loss, the person may come to understand that the void left by your disappearance isn't something that can be easily filled by anyone else. It's a unique loss that they must navigate on their own, learning to embrace their own company and find peace within themselves. It's through this journey that they develop a deeper sense of self-worth and self-reliance, understanding that their happiness and sense of fulfillment cannot depend entirely on someone else. Ultimately, while the feeling of loss is profound and can be overwhelming, it also paves the way for personal growth and emotional healing. As the person learns to cope with the absence, they come to realize that they are stronger than they believed and more capable of creating their own happiness. While they may never forget the loss, they will find a way to move forward, embracing the lessons that come from experiencing the pain of someone disappearing from their life. The emotional void left behind will eventually be filled with new experiences, self-discovery, and a renewed sense of purpose, allowing them to heal and emerge stronger than before. When you disappear from someone's life, they may experience a strong sense of confusion. This feeling often arises when there is no clear explanation for why someone has chosen to distance themselves or walk away. Human beings crave clarity in their relationships, and when something shifts unexpectedly, especially when it's without warning, people are left grappling with unanswered questions. This confusion can consume them as they try to understand what went wrong, why they were left behind, and if there was something they could have done differently. The confusion arises because for most people, relationships are rooted in a sense of consistency and understanding. They expect that if something goes awry, there will be communication, some sort of resolution or dialogue that will help them understand the situation better. But when you disappear without providing any answers, that expectation is shattered. They are left in a state of emotional limbo, unable to resolve the uncertainty. It's like a puzzle with missing pieces, a story left unfinished. The mind tends to fill the gaps with speculation, and it's easy to assume that they are somehow to blame for the change, that there was something wrong with them, or that they weren't worthy of the attention and care they once had. This confusion isn't just about questioning the end of the relationship itself, but also about questioning their own judgment and their understanding of the person they were close to. They begin to wonder if the bond was ever genuine, if the connection was ever as meaningful as they thought. The sense of betrayal can be profound as the individual struggles to reconcile the person they knew with the one who chose to disappear. They may start doubting their own ability to assess people, wondering if they missed the signs or misunderstood the dynamics of the relationship from the start. This internal questioning can be emotionally exhausting as they cycle through a range of thoughts and possibilities, none of which seem to provide any peace. The confusion also forces them to face a deeper uncertainty about their place in the world and the nature of their relationships. They might feel abandoned, unsure of why this happened or what they could have done to prevent it. This lack of closure leaves them feeling powerless, as if the decision to walk away was entirely out of their hands. This confusion doesn't just affect how they feel about the relationship in question, but also how they view their ability to form and maintain meaningful connections. They may begin to wonder if they will always be left behind or if they are destined to face abandonment repeatedly in their life. Moreover, the absence of clear communication or a reason for the disappearance can lead to self-blame. The person may think, did I say something wrong? Was I not enough? These types of thoughts can further feed into feelings of guilt, shame, or unworthiness. The confusion, therefore, becomes tangled with negative self-perceptions, making it even more difficult for them to process the situation. The person who has been left behind may also begin to feel disoriented in their emotional landscape, unsure of how to move forward or even what they truly feel anymore. The psychological impact of confusion can also lead to emotional exhaustion. Trying to make sense of the situation, replaying conversations and moments in an attempt to find some kind of clue or answer can take a significant toll on their mental well-being. They may feel trapped in a loop of unanswered questions and unresolved feelings, unable to break free from the mental chaos. This prolonged state of confusion can create emotional distance from others as well, as they may become wary of getting close to anyone else, fearing that they will be left in the same uncertain state again. In the midst of this confusion, they may also experience an intense yearning for clarity. They may desperately want to reach out to you for answers, to seek closure, to understand why things changed or why you chose to disappear. But without the opportunity to express those feelings, they are left to process everything internally, often without resolution. This lack of communication and understanding exacerbates the feeling of being stuck in an emotional fog, where nothing makes sense and nothing is clear. However, over time, as they process their emotions and begin to accept the situation, the confusion will start to dissipate. They may not get all the answers they crave, but they will learn to live with the uncertainty. They'll come to realize that sometimes not all relationships are meant to be understood, and not everything in life can be explained. This acceptance may be difficult at first, but it will eventually lead to emotional growth and a deeper understanding of the importance of closure, not necessarily from the other person, but from within. They will come to understand that while confusion is painful, it can also lead to greater resilience and self-awareness. This process allows them to heal and move forward, gradually finding peace in the midst of the uncertainty. And as they emerge from the confusion, they will discover that clarity, even if it's self-generated, can bring a sense of closure that is just as powerful as any answer that might have been provided. When you disappear from someone's life, they will often feel a profound sense of loss. This loss may not always be visible on the surface, but it is deeply felt. The loss they experience isn't just the absence of your presence, but also the absence of the connection, the bond, and the shared experiences that once defined the relationship. It's the void left behind when something that was once significant is suddenly gone. This feeling of loss is universal, and it touches the core of human emotions, as we all crave connection, companionship, and the sense of being understood. The loss may initially be met with disbelief. When someone you care about simply vanishes, it's hard to accept that what you had can just disappear without warning. This disbelief can leave them in a state of emotional limbo, unsure of how to proceed or how to process what has happened. The shock of the sudden change may be overwhelming as they try to piece together the events that led to this disappearance. They may replay every conversation, every moment spent together, looking for any signs, any clues that could explain why things turned out this way. However, as the disbelief fades, it is replaced by a deep sense of sorrow. The realization that you are no longer there, that you have chosen to walk away, begins to settle in. For them, this loss feels heavy, almost suffocating. It's not just the absence of your physical presence, but the loss of the emotional safety that you provided. You were someone they trusted, someone they turned to in times of need, and now that trust feels shattered. The loss extends beyond the relationship itself. It becomes a reminder of vulnerability and the pain that comes with being emotionally open to others. This sorrow can be all-consuming, leaving them with a profound sense of emptiness and longing. Yet, the feeling of loss also brings an opportunity for growth. As they experience the pain of your absence, they may begin to realize the importance of self-reliance and personal strength. The loss of you, although difficult, pushes them to confront their own emotions and their own capacity to cope with hardship. In many ways, it teaches them the value of independence and resilience. They learn that even in the absence of someone they cared about, they have the ability to heal, adapt, and move forward. Over time, they will come to see that the loss was not just about you leaving, but about them finding their own strength and learning how to thrive in your absence. As the mourning period progresses, they may begin to feel a sense of nostalgia. The memories of the moments you shared together will likely resurface, often triggered by certain places, songs, or smells that remind them of you. These memories can be bittersweet as they bring both joy and sorrow. On one hand, they may feel grateful for the moments you spent together, for the happiness and connection that once existed. On the other hand, those same memories can intensify the feeling of loss as they realize that those moments are now gone and can never be recaptured. The nostalgia they feel may lead to a sense of regret as they wonder if they could have done more to keep you in their life or if there was a way to prevent the separation. At the same time, the feeling of loss can push them to reevaluate their own life and relationships. They may begin to question the way they engage with others, the way they invest in their relationships, and whether they are truly connecting with the people around them. This self-reflection is often a product of the emotional pain caused by your absence. It forces them to reassess their priorities and the value they place on the relationships they form. They might start to realize that sometimes the relationships that mean the most are the ones that require the most effort and communication, and they may vow to approach future connections with greater intention and understanding. Though this period of loss can feel excruciating, it ultimately leads to a form of self-discovery. As they navigate through the grief, they gain a deeper understanding of themselves and their emotional needs. The loss of you pushes them to face their vulnerabilities, their insecurities, and their fears of abandonment. It helps them realize that while relationships are a significant part of life, their sense of worth does not depend on the presence of others. Through the pain of loss, they begin to develop a stronger sense of self-worth, grounded in their own abilities and emotional strength, rather than in the validation or affection of others. In the end, the loss is not just about what was lost, but also about what is gained. They emerge from the experience with a greater appreciation for themselves and the relationships they choose to nurture in the future. While they may never fully forget the pain of your absence, they will come to understand that this loss was a part of their journey toward emotional growth and self-awareness. And in that growth, they will find the strength to move forward, carrying with them the lessons learned from the heartache and the wisdom gained from the experience.